Okay, so in this lesson, we're going to start off with part 2 of completing the square. Okay, before we go into that, I want to take us back to factoring. Okay, so remember that we learned when we have a number like x squared plus 8x plus 16, that these are called a perfect square trinomial. Okay, perfect square trinomial. Okay, because the factors are twins, they're the same, okay? And we could therefore refer to this as the length of the sides of a square because they're the same. That's why they're called perfect square. Okay, so what we did for this is two numbers that multiplied to 16 and added to 8. 4 times 4 was 16, and 4 plus 4 was 8. So then we were able to factor this trinomial as x plus 4 times x plus 4. Okay, so that's what we mean here by twins. They're both the number 4. So we can relate this back to a square because x plus 4 here times x plus 4, they're both the same length, and when they multiply together you get this perfect square trinomial here. Okay, so let's go ahead and try to do A and B. So if we want to factor, we want two numbers that multiply to 5 that are the same and also add up to 10. So here we could do 5 times 5 and 5 plus 5. Okay, so 5 here is going to work. So we can write it as x plus 5 times x plus 5, or we can also write it as x plus 5 squared, because really we're multiplying them together. Okay, filling it in, we have x plus 5 times x plus 5. Okay, so I'd like you to pause the video for a moment and try part B. Okay, so let's see this one. So here we have actually minus 14 and positive 49. Okay, so two numbers that multiply to 49 that are a square that I can think of are 7 times 7. Okay, but we need to get up to negative 14. So if I do negative 7 plus negative 7, negative 7 times negative 7 will give me positive 14. So that's going to work. So now, because it's negative 7, I have x minus 7 times x minus 7, which is going to be equal to x minus 7 squared. Okay, so each side of the square becomes x minus 7. Okay, so the reason we went over that is because today we're going to talk about when we get an equation of a trinomial that won't factor. Okay, so this is an example right here of something that we can't factor. There's no two numbers that multiply together to be 5 and also add up to 10. Okay, so we're going to do a little trick where we either add or subtract some number to both sides. And we're going to start it off in this example. Okay, so this is where we're going to talk about completing the square. We need to add or subtract something in order to make it complete the square. So if we look at number 1, here we have 30. Okay, this is not a perfect square. So we want to think about what number can we add to both sides to make it a perfect square. So the rule that we're going to use for here is that the number in front of x, we're going to take 1/2 of that number, okay? So that's the letter B because it goes here A, B, C. So if we take the letter B and we divide it in half, okay, then after we do that, we're going to square it. And that's going to be the number that we need to get to, okay? So here in part B, I have 22. So if I do 22 divided by 2, I get 11. And 11 squared is equal to 121. So what I need to do here is to get part C equal to 121. So let me erase this. So in order to do that, I have x squared plus 22x plus 30. So if I add 91 to both sides, letter C will become 121, which is what I want. So x squared plus 22x plus 121 is equal to 93. Okay, so this 121 here is what I wanted in order for it to become a perfect square. Okay, now I know that 11 times 11 is 121, and 11 plus 11 is going to be equal to 22. So now I have my perfect square trinomial of x plus 11 squared is equal to 93. Okay, so from this point, we were able to add 91 to both sides in order to complete the square so we can solve it and factor. Okay, let's try part B. Okay, so we see that here we cannot factor because there's not two numbers that multiply to -2 that also add to 8. So what I'm going to do is take my middle term, my B term, which is -8, divide it by 2. So -8 divided by 2 is -4, and -4 squared is 16. So I want C to end up being the number 16. So in order for it to be 16, I'm going to have to add 18 to both sides. Now I have x squared minus 8x plus 16, which is what I wanted. The whole point of doing this is equal to 23. Okay, now I have my perfect square trinomial. Okay, I know that -4 times -4 is equal to 16, and -4 plus -4 is equal to -8. Okay, so we're always trying to get C to a perfect square. So x minus 4 times x minus 4 is x minus 4 squared, which is equal to 23. Okay, so pause the video for a moment and try the last one on your own. Okay, so here's what you should have done in this one. So B here is 6. 6 divided by 2 is 3, and 3 squared is 9. So we want the letter C to be equal to 9, okay? In this case, I don't even have a C, so C is actually 0. I want it to be 9, so I'm going to add 9 to both sides. Now I have x squared plus 6x plus 9 is equal to 11, okay? Now I have my perfect square trinomial in the C position. 3 times 3 is 9, and 3 plus 3 is 6. So I have x plus 6 squared is equal to 11. Okay, so we can see that in every case, the number that we needed to complete the square is, in fact, this number. Okay, so the way that we say it is half the coefficient of x, okay, that's the B, squared. Okay, so we take that number, we divide it by 2, and then we square it. All right, let's move on. Okay, so finally here we want to try and put everything together that we've learned. Okay, so part 1 and part 2. So I see that I first need to complete the square. Okay, so instead of saying y is equal to x squared minus 6x plus 3, we can rewrite it as 0 is equal to. Okay, so the first step that I did was I substituted 0 in for y. Okay, so now I need to find the number that completes the square. Okay, so I need to find this number. So B here is -6. -6 divided by 2 is -3. And -3 squared is 9. So I need my C position to be the number 9. So in order for this to be 9, I need to add 6 to get it to 9. Okay, so now I'm going to add 6 to both sides. And I get 6 is equal to x squared minus 6x plus 9. Okay, now here I'm going to factor this trinomial. So when I factor, I'm just going to write it off to the side. 3 times 3 is 9, but 3 plus 3 is not 6. Negative 3 plus negative 3. And then also negative 3 times negative 3 is 9. And negative 3 plus negative 3 is negative 6. Okay? So what this becomes is x minus 3 times x minus 3 is equal to 6. Okay? This is an equal sign right here. I also know that x minus 3 times x minus 3 is x minus 3 squared. Okay? I'm just going to flip the equation over here and get my x's on the left side, which is equal to 6. It just looks a little bit better. Okay? So now from this point, I'm going to take the square root of both sides to solve for x. Square root both sides. Okay, so square root. And on the left-hand side, I get x minus 3 is equal to, I can't simplify to get any square root, so it's just square root of 6. And when I take the square root of it, it could be positive or negative, so plus or minus the square root of 6. Then the last thing is solve for x. And to do that, I'm going to add 3 to both sides. So now my answer becomes x is equal to 3 plus or minus the square root of 6. Okay? So remember that this is actually 2 answers. It's x is equal to 3 plus the square root of 6, and x is equal to 3 minus the square root of 6. Okay? So what I'd like us to do right now is try part A. So let's pause the video, and that's the only one that we're going to do while watching the video, and then you can check back at your work. Okay, so here what you should have done is fill in 0 for y. Okay, so I'm going to rewrite it as x squared minus 8x minus 4 is equal to 0. Okay, so I take b, which is negative 8, divided by 2, which is negative 4, and square it to be 16. Okay, so I want my c term to be 16. So in order for that to happen, I need to add 20 to both sides. Now I get x squared minus 8x plus 16 is equal to 20. Okay, and here now I have my perfect square trinomial. Okay, I know that negative 4 times negative 4 gives me 16, and also negative 4 plus negative 4 is going to give me negative 8. So factoring, I have x minus 4 squared is equal to 20. Next, take the square root of each side, and I have x minus 4 is equal to the square root of 20. I can simplify square root of 20 because there is a perfect square inside of there. Square root of 4 times square root of 5. Okay? The square root of 4 becomes 2. So it's plus or minus 2. And then square root of 5 I cannot simplify. I'm just going to move down to here. Okay? Next step is to solve for x. So I'm going to add 4 to both sides. Now I have x is equal to 4 plus or minus 2 square root of 5. And you can write this as 2 separate answers. X is equal to 4 plus 2 square root of 5. And also x is equal to 4 minus 2 times the square root of 5. Okay?